clearing up here.
Nafisa, do you have the student's statement?
I laid on the roof for 15 minutes trying to catch my breath.
Join the meeting.
Yeah, I know, but it's the one job I hate doing, but
Acceptance of minutes. Okay, I'd like to ask for a motion to accept the minutes of October 22nd.
so moved.
Second.
Moved in second. All those in favor?
Enthusiasm for the
Opposed? Very good, thank you.
One step closer.
The public forum. There is one person who's speaking tonight. It's Shannon Nigro, and she would like to talk about farm-to-school grants. And we have to ask you, Shannon, to please just not mention any students or personnel in specific names. 3 minutes.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. So just to kind of back up a little bit, we are looking to submit for the Farm to School grant under the planning category. We are looking for support from the Elmville Central School District. I have met with one of your board members already who is supportive of this. They were supposed to be here this evening to kind of show that support, so I'm a little sad that they're not currently present. But anyways, I'm happy to answer any questions. We do currently have 2 other agencies in support of this who have already signed a letter of commitment with us. So we have Cornell Cooperative Extension, and we also have the Roundout Valley Growers Association. All we're asking for with this letter of commitment is that if awarded, that you guys would be willing to send a supportive staff member to meet with us once per month to plan for like some kind of farm to school incentive for the school district. And just to be clear and transparent with planning grants, we're only planning, we're not implementing, we're not actually doing any of the activities. We're kind of assessing the need for the school district and the community to kind of see what it is that we actually may want to do. And then from there, if it's something that we actually are looking to pursue an implementation, we are able to then apply for an implementation grant after that. So just to be clear, this is just a 12-month planning grant. So we're just asking for a letter of commitment to plan with us for a year. It is a $50,000 budget, so we do have the ability to provide a stipend to you guys to partner with us, so keep that in mind. I would need some kind of answer rather quickly because I do have to get writing, and it is a substantial grant. It's 58 pages. So I'm happy to do all of that work. I do have a great team with me at the Rural Health Network. We've been very successful at grants thus far. We have 8 grants currently. I believe 7 of them are actually federal grants, and we've already secured over $3 million in funding that we've actually been pushing specifically here for the Elmville-Warsing area. So we are pretty good at writing grants. We are very sure that this is something attainable for us and could be something great for the school district. So does anyone have any questions for me?
Mrs. Nigro, I just wanted to point out the public forum is probably not the place where you should be bringing this. We are not in a position really to ask questions in public forum. I would be interested in referring you to the superintendent and perhaps, well, would you like to?
Yeah, if you can set up a meeting with us. I think you've been speaking with Vince, if I'm not.
Yes.
So if you can set up a meeting, we can get all the information
And then
together.
the presentation.
So I've already done all that, and Vince said that the last thing was that he was very happy to provide us with a letter of commitment, but he needed to present it to you guys here tonight in order to get the authority.
So I'll speak to Vince about the process.
Thanks.
But the information needed to come to me first.
Gotcha.
And then I could have shared it with the board, but we are
Okay.
on board. I just
Great.
want to see more of the information.
Sure.
It hasn't been forwarded,
Perfect.
on to me. So if you make an appointment or come see me tomorrow at
Yeah.
some time, speak to Mrs. Dory or Mrs. Hempt.
Great.
I'll try to get the information from Vince, see where the miscommunication happened, and see where we are.
Thank you
I
so
would
much.
also like to
appreciate it.
request that when that's done, that
Yes.
you then come back to the board as a presentation, so we'll have the information and we'll be able to
And you're
dialogue
not,
with
and
you.
you're also not locked into 3 minutes.
I'd be happy to. Thank you so
Very
much for your
good.
time,
Thank
guys.
you.
I appreciate it.
Well, that wasn't very good.
Presentations. So let me get to the right page. Yes. So this evening, we're going to be presented with information about the Kingston YMCA, the before and after school program. And so I'd like to introduce Heidi Kushner, the president and CEO, Kaylen Rooney, the program director, and Rashida Tyler. Ladies? Tyler? Sorry.
That's okay, sorry.
Thank you very much for having the Y here this evening. We're quite pleased to be here. As you know, the Y has been in Ulster County since 1866. We're very dedicated to the growth of our youth in the county and giving them every opportunity to succeed that is out there. Presently, our YMCA is in 5 different school districts in Ulster County. And we're in 9 different schools. So we run before and after school programs. We are under the jurisdiction of Office of Child and Family Services. So they have certain requirements that that we need to comply with in order to operate our program, which would also follow suit for a program in the Ellenville School. In addition to that, our YMCA takes very seriously looking after children in our care, and we have an added layer of training for all of our staff that we do as well. It includes child abuse prevention, different things with regard to seeing and reporting and just being aware of things that most people wouldn't even think of. So we're very keen on keeping the children in our care safe and allowing them to have a very good time and enriching time, and allowing them to be successful, and also providing the care that parents are looking for before school and after school. So many of the families that participate in our programs are working families where both parents work, and they need that care, whether it's very early in the morning or into the evening. That's necessary for them. So we're happy to be doing this. We plan to start the program in January. We're very busy putting together our plans, getting staffing, looking at the facility, getting that information to OCFS for their approval, and finishing off the licensing of the spot in Ellenville. So we're happy about that. Everything is moving forward as planned. We're excited about it. And also, just to give you an idea, when you look at the rates, it's around $4 if you pick like a morning program or an afternoon program, but if you bundle them both together, it comes in around $3, a little bit less than $3. So on an hourly basis, we try to make it as affordable as possible to the families who are participating in this process, yet giving them a bunch of different activities and enrichment programs to participate in. So what I'd like to do now is hand the mic over to Rashida Tyler, who's our Associate Executive Director of Outreach and Program Development. And she's going to talk to you a little bit about why we came to Ellenville, why we wanted to be here, and then she'll hand it over to Kaylen to talk about the programming.
Thank you so much, Heidi. So my name is Rashida Tyler. I'm the Associate Executive Director of Community Outreach and Program Development at the YMCA of Kingston, Ulster County. And I came there in June. One of the things that I really wanted to do and that I was tasked with was doing outreach to the broader Ulster County. So not just Kingston. In Kingston, we have a lot of before and after school resources and activities. And so we wanted to come to Ellenville, and we wanted to bring a little bit of what we do in Kingston and at the 5 other districts throughout the county to Ellenville. I was able to go to the Blueberry Festival where I tabled because one of my core beliefs is that the people who are closest to the problem are closest to the solution, and so that you have to talk with the community and see really what's needed before you can, pose a solution. So I talked to community members about what resources they wanted to see in their communities, and one of the main things that came up was something for the kids to do after school and childcare. Those were 2 main concerns. And we met with lots of officials for the Village of Ellenville, the Town of Warzing, and the central issue that kept coming up was that there is a child care issue, especially after school. Now in Kingston, I know that we have siblings who care for their younger siblings, and so that limits their ability to participate in after-school activities, which ultimately can limit some of the opportunities that are available to them as they advance through school. So having a program like the before and after school care program, especially for younger kids at the elementary school level, helps the parents, but it also helps older siblings to concentrate on their studies, staying after school, or participating in extracurricular activities. So again, that was one of the main reasons that we really did want to help bring this service to the school district. And we met with Superintendent Wiles and her team, and they've been amazingly supportive, and they're in touch with the youth of this community. And so we're happy to help in any way that we can. And we're also very happy to bring this opportunity here to Ellenville. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Kaylen Rooney, who is our Youth Development Director, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about the day-to-day and some more specifics about the before and after school program.
Hi, I'm Kaylen. I'm our Youth Development Director and a former Y kid. My family relied on the Y as we were growing up because I came from a single parent family, and it really served our family a lot. But it was also fun. Every day is jam-packed with activities and choices and intention-based programs led by, really passionate staff members. It's not just people showing up and, doing glorified babysitting. It's team building, it's problem solving, learning how to communicate with your peers and adults in healthy ways. It's, physical activities, keeping them active, healthy snacks, getting them from point A to point B safely and having fun and making choices and taking healthy risks. So our morning care program starts at 7 a.m., so our staff are at program at 6:45 and ready to welcome students at 7 a.m. From there, they have some choices, quiet games rather, help with homework, arts and crafts, gym activities, outdoor activities if the weather is appropriate, STEM activities, reading, literacy. It's keeping them busy in healthy, productive ways. And then they have breakfast and are dismissed to their classes. And then in the afternoon, we're ready to welcome the students as soon as dismissal occurs. We have snack, again, healthy choices, gym activities, help with homework. It's very similar to the morning program, except just a little bit more active. And then 6 p.m. we wrap up, and we're ready for the next day.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. I think we probably have questions. Are you finished presenting?
Yes, yes.
Questions? Well, then I have some questions. This is kindergarten through, is it middle school or
12 years of age.
till 12? So you're going by age rather than grade.
It's typically 6th grade. Many of our participants are K through 4, though we are open to 6th graders.
And I believe that this program was in Ellenville at one time, probably a very long time ago.
Yeah, I think it was 11 or 12 years ago. It was definitely before any of us were here. I think there was state funding available. I can't remember the details that funded the program, a lot of it. And then once the state funding went away, I believe our program went away as well.
I see. I have one other question, and then maybe one of my companions here will too. I'm just wondering. I saw the fee schedule, and it is what it is. But I wonder if there is any subsidized fees or fees based on income in a community with a very high poverty rate. Of course,
So
that could be an
We
issue.
do have scholarships available. Also, we do accept DSS. So like anyone who is interested, we encourage them to contact us as soon as possible, because then we can look at what we have for our own internal scholarships, or if they qualify for DSS, that's also another option.
And I have one more question. When it's time for people to sign up for the program, how is that going to be done?
So is it electronic now?
We
Here, take the.
Oh, yes, there's a physical application form. They submit it to our registrar, and once payment information is provided, then we can get a 48-hour turnaround. So if you hand it in on Monday, we can get you started into the program on Wednesday.
So that application will be handed out in the school by the school district employees to the students to bring home? Is that what it is?
We can do that. It's also on our website, available to be downloaded.
Okay, very good. Other questions? Jody?
So is it pre-K or K to 12-year-old?
Kindergarten.
It is kindergarten.
Mhm.
Okay. And then the application is online, and then we could possibly send one home with our students.
Absolutely.
Is there a possibility for one night for you to come down, for parents to come fill it out in person if they need assistance?
Absolutely, yep.
So also, I do plan on doing outreach at the school. I believe, again, the district has said that they're going to share that with parents, but if there's something like a open night or school night, then I would be happy to come down and meet.
Okay, thank you.
Geneva?
And then do you have funding options for families that have multiple children, or is that kind of like a scale that you could use or an adjustment that you'd be able to make?
Yeah, we have that frequent, so we'll look at everything that we have. Yep.
Yeah, I actually have a concern on the cost. It seems a little high, in all honesty. I know per hour it's not, but we have a pretty high free and reduced population here, so I have concerns on that. So I guess we'll have to have discussions about that later on, or I'm not in favor of this because of the cost. In all honesty, you're talking $3,700 for 10 months for a family.
But
for
there's
like,
DSS funding. There's other ways they can.
okay.
Yeah.
Would you like to
I-
address it?
I think that the Y does have the availability to connect in with other agencies like DSS and also scholarships that we're looking at. I don't remember off the top of my head, and I don't have my notes with me, what's the minimum number of students that we need to have this go forward?
We need 12.
We need 12 students to
yeah.
be able to
Mhm.
to maintain this.
Yeah.
So it is just one option to provide, but we can sit down and talk to the Y.
I like the
about-
program. I have
Yeah.
concerns with the cost.
Yeah.
I think one thing is that childcare for working parents is probably the most expensive
Yes.
cost out there. Our program, in relation to other child programs out there, is one of the more affordable options. If you're looking at babysitters, if you're looking at the time a parent would have to take off of work to get to the school to pick their kid, it really kind of balances out. And if there is a need for a scholarship, there's lots of families in Kingston that do receive scholarship, and then there's also the option of ESS.
Okay, thank you.
Lisa?
What happens in a delayed opening or an early dismissal in snow?
For delayed openings, as long as the space is open and our staff are available to begin at 9 rather than 7, we're happy to provide the service regardless, and then we would go up until classes are welcoming their students. In case of an early dismissal, if it's weather related, we do not run program just to make sure everyone is getting home safely.
So if it's delay, then you follow the same delay as the school,
Exactly.
basically. Is that what it is?
It's an hour later.
Yes.
2 hour delay, it's 2 hours later.
I see. Okay.
But I'm sorry, but the kids can go to you or after dismissal.
Now, if it's an early dismissal,
Right, if the school dismisses at 1,
then we dismiss everyone at 1 for safety to get everybody
so,
home.
okay, so there's no program.
Right.
So
Okay.
in the event that it's a scheduled half-day, if staff are available and the space is available, we will run a half-day program. It's what we do in our other schools. So if the dismissal is at 11:15, say, we would run a program until 6 p.m.
But that's if it's not weather related.
Right.
The staff is from Kingston, or you hire people locally, or?
Hoping to hire locally.
Very good. Other questions? You good? Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
think we're all really looking forward to having this service in the district. I know there's a great need, and I happen to be a grandmother of children who are Y children also. Not here, but it's been a great saver for my kids and my daughter. So thank you. I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Vince would like to say something.
If we could just remind everybody to speak into the microphone. They can't hear us back in the studio. So I know sometimes we get off to the side, but they can't pick us up.
And now Mrs. Wiles will be doing a capital project presentation for us.
Okay, so I just have to pull this up.
Yes, because we're going to use Xbox.
Yep.
I get you.
I can do it right from the website, right? If the computer worked. So while Vince pulls the presentation up, I just want to bring to everyone's attention that you can find this presentation on our website. On the website, if you look on the left side of the website, on 3 bars down, there is a link that says Capital Project. If you click on, we're going to show you right now, if you click on that, you go to Capital Project 2019, at the very top, there's a community presentation. I'm going to take you through this. I've done this presentation a number of times for various groups and CBOs. I also did this in a video with on a public presentation night. We had some community members come out too, so I'm just going to walk you through this, and then I'll do a summary at the next meeting also. We're really just trying to make sure that people get this information. Many people tune into the board meetings. So basically what we're talking about is a capital referendum that's coming up here on Tuesday, December 3rd. And the referendum covers 3 specific areas, and I'll tell you how we got to those in a moment. But it covers safety and security, aging infrastructure, space deficiencies, and the amount of this proposition is $19,995,000. So how did we get here? So I'm going to take you back to 2014, and in 2014 we had a referendum for $14.5 million that addressed phase 1 items of an identified 5-year plan. And the biggest portion of that project had to do with converting our heating system from a steam system to a hot water system. It included some roof work, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. But the problem we had was the market when we went out to bid, and the cost escalation that we realized when we went out to bid far exceeded the $14.5 million by about $3.5 million. So the project had to be repackaged, and items had to be taken out, and there were some items that we couldn't take out, like the heating system. So one of the things that we decided as a board and as a district to do was take a look at the roofing. And we did quite a bit of the roofing work with regard to fortifying or putting in a lot of steel to reinforce the roof. But what we didn't have enough money to do was to actually rip the roof off and replace it. So in this new project, we're going to be covering the roofs. And the reason why I digressed a little bit is that's one of the questions that we've gotten, internally and also from the community. Weren't the roofs in the last project? A portion of the roofs were, but not all of them. So we went on and we are identifying the priorities that we couldn't do as part of the last project. But after we completed the last project, about a year and a half ago, we did an updated building condition survey. And the updated building condition survey, that's the document that really shows us what the needs are in the district with regard to facility improvement. Not only does it have the actual nuts and bolts of what should be done, but it also has our aspirations. What would we like? What's on our wish list? And very often we can't get to those priorities. We're often looking at priorities that are basic, our priority ones. And that's what this project includes, nuts and bolts priorities. So in 2018, the board took a look at the updated building condition survey, and we had a pretty aggressive approach. We included a lot of site work that was identified as a need, and we put it up for a vote a year ago in December, and the referendum failed. One of the positives that come out of a failure is that we put an exit poll out for our community. And over 50% of the people who voted filled out that exit poll, people that voted yes and people that voted no. And from that exit poll, the board and the administration really got, and the architects, the construction manager, and our financial people really got some real positive and authentic feedback from the taxpayers on what they'd like to see. And that's how we came up with the 3 top areas that they identified: safety and security, aging infrastructure, space deficiency for programs. Those were the priorities that were identified in that exit poll. And those are the areas that we focused on when we redesigned a referendum. So a new scope was developed. We also listened to what the community told us in that they said scale it back. So it was a lot of money. They also told us that the state aid number was lower. At the time we put out this referendum, Pine Bush and Rondout had referendums up, and their aidability number was a little higher than ours. And they said pick out the items that are more aidable, that will get more aid from the state. So the new scope of work was created based upon the input we got. And as I said earlier, we reduced the cost, and we addressed the top 3 areas of need that the voters identified. So why would we put this out again? Why would we, scale it back, put it out? And the answer is, it's not complicated, but there are a lot of components. And the first thing is that we have the need, right? The infrastructure, and I've said this today a few times when I presented this to the building. So a school, this big facility we have, the 3 schools, the whole district, it's like a huge house. And we know that if we own our homes and we have to maintain our homes, they're like money pits, right? And we are always putting money in to keep our facilities and our homes up to date, especially because this is where students come every day, and they come to learn and to get their education. And the basic need is that this facility should be in the best shape possible with the most opportunities for our students. So why do we have to go out for a referendum? We have to go out for a referendum because the way the state funding system is set up is that if we go out and the voters say yes, that avails the school district to be able to attain some additional state aid, some additional capital funding. In Ellenville's case, our building aid ratio is 70%, which means that if whatever items are aidable in your project, so let's say 90% of the project's aidable, you would get 70% back on that 90% that's aidable, which means that it lessens the impact to the local taxpayer. So if we had just taken $1 million and we put in it in the general budget, we would not get any additional aid back on that $1 million for maintenance or just a general capital improvement. But if we go out to the voters and the voters say yes for that work, we'll get 70%. If the whole project's aidable, 70% on the $1 million or 70% of $900,000, that's a huge amount of money to receive back. So we want to leverage our state building aid to reduce the tax burden and to reduce the burden on the local taxpayers. The other portion of why we're doing this is we have an aging infrastructure. The areas that we're identifying to do the work in are the oldest parts of the building, the older parts of the high school, the older parts of the elementary school. And we also know that, as in anything else we do with our homes or anything else with regard to building and maintenance, we know one thing for sure is that costs will always go up. They're not going down. And if we kick the can down the road and we don't do this work, when we have to do this work in an emergency situation or in another, at another time where we put a referendum up, we know for sure that those costs are going to be higher than what they are today. You know, our mission is to maintain a safe instructional environment, we also want to enhance energy efficiencies. We talked about diminishing the pressure on the regular budget. You know, the tax cap legislation has been able to keep our taxes under the cap. However, it doesn't avail us, or it doesn't allow us to add additional funds in there as we would see fit, and maybe raise the local levy to maintain the building that way. We also have a need to meet certain requirements of the American with Disabilities Act. We want to avoid some costly emergency repairs, and surely we want to prolong the life of our buildings and systems here, and protect the community asset and investments. One of the comments I heard at one of the earlier meetings we had from a community member was, you know, this school is really the hub of the community. This building is used for more than just instructional programs during the day. We have all types of activities that happen after school, but these buildings are used for a lot of community use. And there are not a lot of facilities in our area, so they're used, and they are, we welcome that, but even more the reason why we have to pay close attention to maintenance. And I want to address that also. Some of the feedback that we've gotten is you should maintain what you have. So, you know, we do maintain what we have, but some of these systems that have to be replaced go beyond what we can build into our regular budget. And sometimes you do need some specialized skill to do some of the work that we're doing that we don't have the equipment for or the resources for to get that work done. So first goal and priority, safety and security enhancements. We want to secure our building entrances, and we'll be working with the architect and safety consultants to make sure that they are designed in such a way to limit access into our buildings. We want to replace aged interior and exterior doors, also windows. Down in the elementary school, if you have the opportunity to take a look at the boards that are in each of the lobbies, we want to redesign how you enter the elementary school office. And when you walk in, after you get into the building through some revised and enhanced security doors, you'll be able to turn left and go directly into the office as opposed to walking into the hallway and around. So you'll be able to access both the elementary office and the nurse's office from the main portion of the lobby. We want to replace failing athletic fencing, replace cracking and heaving sidewalks, and resurface our parking lots. Those are some of the items that fall under safety and security enhancements. Another goal and priority the community told us to focus on was replacing the aged infrastructure that we have. Finish the roofs, right? Replace them, get them warrantied so they don't leak, and we don't have damage in the building. Upgrade the bathrooms across from the high school cafeteria along where the locker rooms are. Those are the last bathrooms in that area to be restored. Replace and reseal crumbling exterior brick on the highest priority locations. Replace ineffective and inefficient roof exhausts that are on top of the roofs. We also want to, and I'll show you a picture of this in a moment, to really do some infrastructure work down in our concession tower down by the football field. We've done some work on the outside of the building and have been doing some maintenance on that, but there's some internal work down there that we need to get done with regard to electricity and some other areas. The two areas that we did keep in the budget with regard to our athletic fields are reconstructing the baseball and softball fields on the school district, in the back of the school buildings between the middle school and the elementary school. And that will include placing dugouts there on slabs with some prefabs that'll go up. We also, in between the elementary school and middle school, when we disconnected those buildings back in 1997, there's a retaining wall that's used as a walkway. And there has been some damage to it from stormwater drainage. So that has to be ripped out and it has to be replaced before it becomes unusable. And there's some restrooms in the elementary school where we need to make them more ADA compliant. And finally, our student programs. So the first area that was identified was the library down in the elementary school. And really, the plan is to add on an addition to the back end of the elementary school so that we can build a more modern instructional area that could be used for many different types of educational activities by our students. So why would we do that? If you've had the opportunity to go into our elementary media center, it is the smallest space we have for the most number of children, and it's very antiquated. There's no infrastructure in there for connectivity to the internet. There's no workspace area, and with what we see that other schools have, and I'm not trying to keep up with the Joneses, but there's no reason why our students, with regard to equity, should not have the same opportunities that other students have in other school districts that can avail themselves to a more modern facility. At one of our community meetings, one of the community members said, back in 1997, we did a lot of work here. We put up a new high school, we put up a brand new middle school, we put an addition on the elementary school, and at that time people talked about Ellenville has like really modern, a real modern facility. They still have some areas that are aged, but we were really ahead. And now we see areas around us that have worked on modernizing, and they said to me, Mrs. Wiles, we don't really want to fall behind. We think our students, should have opportunity. So we're not asking anyone to vote on this, but we're trying to show you how we got to the decision of adding on an elementary library so that our students have the same access. And I just want to say one other thing. If somebody was, because we hear a lot about people coming into the community and will they move here, and we hear a lot about our test scores, but when you come into a community to move into the community, the first thing you do is you visit the school to see what the facility looks like. And if you're going to compare, and you have children going into the elementary school, just using this as an argument, not for or against, just an argument that's out there. And Rondout or Pine Bush, they're going to have brand new media centers in their elementary school. And you see our media center that might play into your decision on what facility you want your child to attend. The other area in the elementary school, and these areas in the elementary school that we're talking about are in the oldest portion of the building. These are areas that have not been touched in well over 50 years. Now the cafeteria, there's a little bit of a glitch to that, and that cafeteria, that multi-space room, that multi-purpose room was built as part of the addition. However, if you go back to the plans in 1997, that was never intended to be a cafeteria. But at the time, the administration of the elementary school said, our kids need a cafeteria in our building. So they repurposed the multi-purpose room, and they put in a small warming kitchen. All the food is going to continue to be cooked and sent down to the elementary school. But it will give us the opportunity to have some more efficient serving lines, and more importantly, more space for the students to have lunch or breakfast. So why is that important? Right now in the elementary school, when elementary school students come to school, they arrive and they get settled in their classroom, and instruction begins at 9:10. And at 10:20, an hour and 10 minutes later, after they've come in and had breakfast anywhere between 7:30, 8 o'clock forward, there's quite a group of students that start having lunch at 10:20. And lunch goes from 10:20 till 2 o'clock. And it's a very, very efficient moving line and a well-oiled machine of food being served, kids moving through, but it's not conducive to what lunch and breakfast should be in an elementary school. The other piece of that I want to share is that because we became a community eligibility provision school district, We have many more students eating breakfast now than we have. And we don't have the space to house those students in the cafeteria right now. So that will alleviate the space crunch we have in the elementary school. I want to go back to the library because I just remembered I forgot to tell you. So if we have a new library, what is going to be in the space of the existing library? So in the existing portion of the library, we're going to repurpose that space because we have, while our enrollment might be decreasing a little bit, the student need has changed. And we have many, many more intervention providers that we haven't had before. We have literacy teachers, occupational therapists, physical therapists. We have math intervention specialists. We have resource room teachers. And what we find ourselves with is we have 2 to 3 people sharing one classroom seeing students. And it's not really conducive to to sound instructional practices, and that what separates them is like a bookcase. So you get a lot of surround noise that's happening. So that space will alleviate some of the overcrowding that's happening in the classrooms. So that's the 2 areas that we focused on with regard to student programs in the elementary school. In the high school, we're going to rework some of the space in this media center so that it is more 21st century skill-leveled workspace area. And while this is a great space, there's some small things that we can do to make it a better working environment for our students. In addition to a small amount of work going on in here, the other area that we are really, 2 other areas we're focusing on in the high school. One is the auditorium, which really is, again, the hub of not just school district presentations, but community-based presentations. And in the last project, we did a lot of backstage work. We did a new curtain, we put a new floor down on the stage, and we put a new rigging system in. And we took care of a lot of work on the stage and back. But what we did not have enough money for was to take care of the back end, so to speak, or the front end of the auditorium. So this project would address the seats that are broken. It would address some lighting issues, many lighting issues that we have, and some sound system, an inefficient sound system. So that's been identified in this project. And finally, one of the biggest growing programs here that we've had over the years is our educational TV and radio station. And I'm going to show you a picture in a couple of minutes, but that studio, when you walk out to the left, is this very small area. And while we will be keeping that as a broadcast studio, because it would be too expensive to move everything into a different portion of the building, that'll be the broadcast studio, but there'll be a state-of-the-art workspace that's put together for students, so they have a working area to develop and build their programs and work on their priorities with regard to the educational TV program and radio station. Okay, so those are the goals and priorities. So what's the cost? So we did listen to the taxpayers, and the cost of this project has been decreased by about a little over 50%. So there's a few things I have to just clarify. State building aid. Our state building aid ratio, as I said earlier, is about 70%, 70% of what's aidable. Right now, 95% of this project is aidable, excluding the cafeteria and the library. So if we include the cafeteria and the library, it's 80 to 95%. Why the difference? The difference exists because the state will not commit to us on the full project until we submit a plan to them that shows them how we're going to utilize our space in the elementary school. And based on the number of students we have and the classrooms we have and what the classrooms are going to be used for, that'll determine what the aidable ratio is in the elementary school work. So what we did is we compared these 2 areas, these 2 scenarios, and based on a home that has a market value of $100,000, what would the cost be to the average taxpayer that has a home of market value of $100,000? If we get the maximum aid, that's 95% of the project aidable, The maximum, if we get the maximum aid, it would cost the taxpayers $54.23 annually, $4.52 a month, or about $1.25 a week. Okay, someone asked me to add that in. If we get the minimum amount of aid, it will cost a taxpayer that has a market value of $65.67, a market value of $100,000. It will cost them $65.67 annually, $5.47 a month, and I'm not sure what that works out to weekly, but there's a weekly number there. The tax levy increase for the local share on this project is approximately 2%. All estimates, we're lucky enough to have our construction manager working with us at the table now, and they have included with the architects and engineers and our financial planner. They're working collaboratively together. All of our estimates are conservative, and under the current laws, I've also been asked to include this. So, under the current law, taxpayers received a tax rebate check recently, back from the state. And it was about anywhere from $400 to $500, maybe $300, but there was someone got a check and it says property tax relief. If you own a house, you got a check back. And people got the check back because the school district that they're in has stayed underneath the cap. And staying underneath the property tax cap, for those school districts, their taxpayers were refunded some money. So I was asked to make the point that taxpayers are getting some property tax relief back under the current law. And although we're asking for people to come out of pocket for some increase in taxes, there's an offset by that property tax relief credit. So what's next? More information is going to be provided at public presentations on the district website, WELV. We have boards up in all of the lobby spaces. If you're coming to visit the school for a concert or any other activity between now and December 3rd, you can take a look at it. All the information, including pictures of the boards, are up on the website. Channel 20 will have some information, and we're doing watch for the information. There's a postcard coming home. There's a newsletter coming home. And please, we just ask that you vote. We're not asking for you to vote a particular way, but just come out and vote. So we have some voters. We get a nice turnout for this. So 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., just like a budget vote, right here in the High School Media Center on Tuesday, December 3rd. Here's some photos I just want to walk through. Here's a picture of the concession stand as it exists, some failing external doors, brick and pointing and repointing, external steps that go up to the high school, elementary bathrooms, failing sidewalk and retaining wall. That's what I was talking about between the elementary school. I think I hit this, the retaining wall. Roofing needs, including roof exhausts. Here's a space in the high school studio, and I will tell you, this is not a staged picture. This is what this looks like on any given period in school. I'm sure our students can attest to that. Some windows that need work, elementary school gym windows that'll be replaced, questions and answers. So I'm not sure if anyone has any questions and answers, if I've left anything out that anyone wants to point out. But that's the presentation, and we'll do the next board meeting. I don't think I'm going to go through the same presentation and bore everybody, but maybe we can just do the salient points of this. So.
Mrs. Wiles, I believe we have a question. Geneva?
So I know you went over who it would be affecting and paying the taxes and things like that. Could you go over for the voters at home who is eligible to vote for the project?
Yes. So you are eligible to vote if you are 18 years old and you're a resident of the Ellenville Central School District, which means that we have people, taxpayers, and residents, more importantly residents, that live in the town of Mamakating or the town of Rochester. So it's just not Wawarsing. It's anyone that falls within the Ellenville Central School District, a resident of. 18 years old and you have to be registered, you can call 845-647-0100 and register. And there are also absentee ballot applications that are available. If you call Mrs. Hempt or Mrs. Doria, we can get that information to you. We'll have the information also posted on the website.
Thank you.
Any other questions? John?
Ms. Wiles, I noticed that when we did our first capital project that several residents said that they had concerns whether our buildings were being properly maintained, but if I did my math correctly, the elementary gym and the elementary library are 65 years old. And so it's virtually impossible to hook up modern day technology into those facilities. And when you see 24 kids at 8 workstations in the, these are things that are needed. So I think we did a good job getting those things that are needed to be done for our students. Thank you.
One of the other things, Mr. Burns, just to dovetail on what you're saying, we do have maintenance staff here. But over the years, with the property tax cap and with the economic downturn, we haven't had the luxury of hiring the number of people that we have had in the past. And we haven't been able to be replacing, some of the people that had retired. And I think this board and the school district was asked by many to do more with less, and I think that we have done a lot more with a lot less. And I think we do have maintenance staff that keep up with it, but I don't think the general fund budget has been able to support, more staff that we could use with, additional expertise in certain areas. So I just wanted to, to point that out also.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mrs. Wiles. We appreciate all your effort here. So we'll go on to reports, information, and correspondence. The board president is not here with us this evening. Board membership? Wayne?
Yeah, if I may. I think it was in May or June, I had a discussion about our honors banquet. So it's my understanding that students that have a 93 one quarter, 95 another quarter, and 89.7 for a third quarter are not honored because it's not a 90 for 3 quarters in a row. And I just think that that is really unfair to those students that possibly have a 93 average for those 3 quarters. I would like us to send that back to the BLT or wherever it needs to go to take a second look. I think that if a child has an above 90 average for 3 quarters, they should be honored, especially most of those children have advanced courses, college courses and other things. They're not just taking, easier courses. They're really challenging themselves. And I would like to see those children honored this year. In the past, they have not been honored. And last year, I believe it affected somewhere between 12 or more students. That's a lot of students that have worked hard and really deserve the honor. So I would like to send that back to whoever it needs to go. And I'd like an answer, before June so we can make sure those kids are recognized.
Very good. So I'll refer that to the superintendent, and you'll follow up
Point
on
of
that?
information, didn't
Yes.
that original standard come out of the building level teams?
Yes, yes.
So we're going to send it back to them and ask them to reconsider that when it came from them?
That's the request.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Anything else? Anyone else? No? Very good. Okay. Student representatives are not here. Did they send a report in or no?
They did send, is this the report that they sent? So they have some dates listed. I can review them with you. They're also on the calendar. On November 12th, winter sports began in the high school. On November 18th, coming up, the elementary school will have an early dismissal due to parent-teacher conferences. Modified winter sports will begin. And then there's a listing of some grade level meetings and BLT meetings. And then they were kind enough to remind us of the next scheduled board meeting of November 26th. But I'm going to add to this report, because we go into my report, right?
Yes,
Right?
yeah.
So this is part of my report, part of their report. I'm sure they left this out mistakenly. So this past Saturday, I had the opportunity to attend the Section 9 football championship at Dietz Stadium. And there's a lot of controversy around the 8-man versus 11-man football, team. And I know that we want to go back to hopefully getting back to an 11-man team. That being said, I watched 8 young, athletes, or more than 8 young athletes, field that field and win that sectional game, and it was just really special. And it's a Dietz, and we had a great crowd that came out. It was freezing cold, but they played really hard. It was a great game. The score went back and forth, and it was really nice to see them rise to the top. And along this journey that they've had, kind of making lemonade out of lemons, and they had some type of season. And what struck me is that there's so many teams that are falling into this because of not only enrollment in the schools, but also decline in the number of players that are playing in different schools. We will be playing next Saturday at 4 o'clock again at Dietz Stadium. We're playing a school district, the Lansing Central School District, which is a Section 4 school out of this. They're the Section 4 champions, so Section 4 will play Section 9. And I'd really encourage the community to come out and watch our students really represent Ellenville, with Blue Devil pride. I mean, it was really a wonderful thing to watch, as it always is when our students are excelling on the field or in the classroom or promoting public service announcements, no matter what we do. So people can say what they want about Ellenville, but we have great kids that have a lot of resilience and grit, and I am really proud of every one of them. And that was the highlight of Saturday. So if you have the opportunity, it's worth coming out. I don't have anything else this evening.
Okay, thank you. The Assistant Superintendent for Business, Mr. Napoli.
Thank you. If you look on the roof of the auditorium, you can see that there's new solar panels up there for the domestic hot water. Half of the array, there's 2 banks of panels up there, was recently replaced. So we're fully back online, and we can actually monitor it now over the web. So that's kind of pretty cool. I know
Did you
that
save
would
it
appreciate
as a gift for me at this meeting?
I did.
Thank you.
We also put up a solar light in the back parking lot, which sheds a lot more light on the playground and then on the parking spots down where the little turnaround is. And so you can take a look at that at night. And then I'll also like to share, and I see that Shanna's out in the park, not in the parking lot, she's out in the audience there, thank you.
Not in the parking lot.
And not in the parking lot. We had a discussion to go into plans of working with the hospital and Cornell Co-op to work on a farm-to-school grant. There was no obligation on our part, it's just a go-ahead for them to go ahead and begin working on the paperwork to actually file for the grant. I know that's something that the board has asked me to do over many years, is to do some type of farm-to-school initiative here. I just didn't have the resources to pull it off, so when Shannon and I met, and she said, hey, look, we'll be happy to help you, and we'll partner with you. I said, that fantastic idea. So thank you for that. And it's just they're going to start working on the grant, and we'll see where it goes from there. There's no guarantee that we're going to get the grant, but we'll see where it goes. And that's all that I have for today.
Any questions? John?
Yeah, I just think it was unfortunate that we made Mrs. Nigro come out here today and couldn't really get the information discussed that we wanted, so I'm sure that was just a lack of communication somewhere. The other question I had, Vince, was under your food service report, I remember you talking last year about the raw materials from New York State. Did the miscalculation on the part of the raw materials cost us money?
But it didn't cost us money, but what it did is it cost us revenue. So right now we get 6 cents for every reimbursable meal. We get that back from the state. This was going to get us up to 30 cents. And so what had happened was that when they computed the cost of the materials for providing food to our students, somebody in their production department saw Boar's Head to New York company, and they assumed that all the Boar's Head foods were sourced out of New York. Unfortunately, not all the foods from Boar's Head, the meats come from a New York farm. So that took the total dollars to be less than 30%, and it was like 29.7%. which disqualifies us for the 30% initiative. So the 30% means that at least 30% of the raw materials that go into our school lunch has to come from New York in order to be eligible for that additional funding. So they're working on getting more of their products sourced from New York, and then what'll happen is we will apply again next year. You can do this every year, and hopefully we'll be able to get that additional fundings in 2021.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question for you. I'd like to know if you could inform the board, if you can inform the board at some point, either through our Chromebooks or the next packet, which doors we actually now have access to as board members.
Sure.
That's the first part of it. I would like to know also, we have school IDs, just like every other employee and person coming in and out of here on an official, in an official capacity. And I wonder if we can get IDs that will become our pass, you know, instead of separate key fobs. I think, don't teachers and other staff use their ID badges as their pass for the door swipe?
Do you have a key fob?
Right.
I have a key fob.
So some of us still have key fobs and don't have that. So can we update them?
If someone has one of the old fobs, they should come into my office and we'll swap it out for an ID that will open a door. So you
Okay.
don't have to carry.
Okay,
Two
so
things.
you'll let us know what doors we have access to. We can change our ID badges. And the last part of it, for me anyway, is I was never put in the system with my ID check, my license check, however that system works for visitors. So I'm wondering if that's something I need to do. Because when I come in during the school day, which is very rare for me, but I happened to have to come in last week and I wasn't on the system, so I think I probably should be, right?
Well, people that are employees or volunteers are not in the badge pass system, and I would constitute you as being an employee, but for zero pay, right? So,
We're not getting paid?
Put it out there.
so you would not be in the badge pass system.
So when I come into one of the buildings during the day and I have my school board ID on, don't I have to sign, don't they need to know that I'm in there?
They should, and they
And
should
so
be
how does that
logging
work?
you in. They should, have a manual journal, and they could also put you in the computer without actually scanning your driver's license. When I go into the elementary school, I ask security to make sure that they know that I'm in the building. So just in case something happens,
Right.
they know I'm in the building. So I would want all board members to go through the main entrance, let security know that they're there, and sign me in.
And follow the operating procedures we have.
Right, that's.
So then I really don't have to follow the visitor's procedure of my license check, and I'll be in the system. Isn't that easier? I don't want to give you a hard time.
It is,
but
and-
it seems
and if-
easier. I could do that.
And
I
if you're a
have no problem with
parent,
it.
and you come for the first time, as a visitor, we do scan your driver's
Right.
license, but the next time you come in, you don't have to give them your driver's license again.
I know, so it's already in there.
You're in.
So
Say,
isn't
hey,
that
I'm Vince, I'm
easier?
here to see the principal. Right. Sure, we can certainly do that.
Okay, thank you.
We have had our door access curtailed.
We have.
That should not have changed. I don't know off the top of my head which doors you have access to. I know the one here in the library, the doors over here, the superintendent's office, but I don't know the other ones off the top of my head. I can have our technology director run me a report, but I'm pretty sure that the doors that you've had access to in the past, you have the same access to. If something's not working, we can certainly take a look at that door or see what happened.
So if you could just reiterate what those doors are?
Sure,
Then we'll
I'll get a
all be
report
on
and
the
I'll let
same
you know so you
page.
don't try to get into a door that you might not have access to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? No. Okay, Mrs. Medina's not here. Board information. Okay, we are off to the resolutions. Let me just pull this up.
Can I ask a question on the
Sure,
building
John.
principals reports? I believe Jody and I discussed this coming down because we just did talk about grades with our administrators and testing scores and graduation rates. I think, and I did not look them as closely as Jody did, but I think the percentage of students we have in some of our grades that are academically ineligible is a little high. And I'm wondering how we're maintaining a graduation rate and test scores when a good percentage of our students in each grade are academically ineligible?
I will clarify that and get you the information back.
Thank you.
Are you, yeah. I think that at this time of year, those numbers reflect the students who were in September who were ineligible at the end of last year. So we have in our eligibility policy,
A
let me pull-
carryover?
Yeah, there's a carryover and there's a process that happens with that, so let me get the information to you.
When was that report from, Jody? Was that-
September.
It was
This
from
is
September?
Yeah. So before.
Well, one class was 30%.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a look at it and we'll get you a more detailed report on eligibility.
Thank you.
Anything else? We'll go on to the personnel resolutions. 6.1. Let me see. I lose my place here. Okay. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that Ralph Childers be appointed uncertified substitute teacher at a rate of $95 per day worked and substitute teacher aide at a rate of $84 per day worked for the 2019-20
So
school
moved.
year.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. 6.2, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that Taylor Lambertson be appointed substitute teacher aide at a rate of $84 per day worked for the 2019-20 school year.
So moved.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Upon the recommendation of, 6.3. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be resolved that a 1.0 teacher aide position be restored, and be it further resolved that Angela Younger be recalled as a teacher aide from the teacher aide recall list effective October 28th, 2019, at an annual salary of $25,844 prorated step 2.
So moved.
Second.
Second, any questions, any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
Nafisa? Abstain. Abstain, thank you.
One abstention? Was that an abstention? Okay. 6.4, uncertified substitute teacher. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that Brianna Haight be appointed uncertified substitute teacher at a rate of $95 per day worked for the 2019-20
Second.
school year. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. 6.5, security attendant. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that Michael Scarza Fava be appointed as security attendant at a rate of $17 per hour worked, not to exceed 29 hours each week, effective December 2nd, 2019. This is a civil service position that requires a 6-month probationary period ending June 2nd, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. 6.6. Did it come up here? Yes. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be resolved that Richard Jacobs be appointed as security attendant at a rate of $17 per hour worked, not to exceed 29 hours each week, effective January 2nd, 2020. This is a civil service position that requires a 6-month probationary period ending September 2nd, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that Clint Renton Mayor be appointed as a cleaner at a contractual salary of $41,841, step 1, prorated, effective November 13th, 2019. This is a civil service position that requires a 6-month probationary period ending May 13th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any question or discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. 6.8, election inspectors. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be resolved that the following 2019 election inspectors for the capital project referendum be appointed as needed at a rate of $200 per day worked as listed below.
Move the list.
Move the
Second.
list. Second, any discussion? I just would like to know if we're going to be using our new equipment.
Yes.
Great, okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes. 6.9.
Motion to move 6-9 and 6-10 on resignations.
Second.
6.9 through 6.10. Second, does anybody want to pull either one of those? No more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motions pass. Winter coaches. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be resolved that the following coaches' winter be approved as indicated for the 2019-20 school
So
year.
moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Wayne?
Just a quick question, the difference in pay, can somebody explain that?
The difference in
Since
pay.
they're both modified, they're both,
I can't off the top of my head, but we can look at it, and it is something that we're going to be looking at in the future. I think it had to do with, I have to go back and look at the rationale, but I think it had to do with averages in the county for different teams and the number of practices and so forth. But I'm not sure that the equity is still there, so it's something that we will be looking at. Yeah, it's in the contract, the contractual items.
thank you.
Anyone else? I'm not sure I understand that.
I unfortunately
So let me ask, I thought that these salaries are drawn from a scale that we have, that we use.
They're off a negotiated scale, but I think the question, and correct me if I'm wrong, was like, how did we get to that number?
No, I'm wondering.
Why are they different
Why
numbers?
are they different? I've
Yeah,
seen it
there's
with
two,
varsity
one's
coaches in the
24 and
past,
one's
GB
26.
I don't know
assistants.
why they're different, they're just negotiated. So I'm not sure if there was a difference in the sport and the practice and the sessions. I don't know, but I'll try to go back and find the rationale out. They're just contractually negotiated items.
Point of information, I know that some of our coaching salaries don't match up to other districts, and perhaps that might be a problem why we're having a difficulty finding the coaches that we have the last few years. It does seem to be significantly lower than other districts, so.
At the time we looked at this, probably the last round or the round before that, we were on the upper side of the average, but, other contracts have settled, so there might have, we're gonna look at it, we have negotiations.
I feel confident the teachers union will bring it up.
Yeah, and I think we have issues also with it too, like
Right.
equity and assistant coaches and so on.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Co-curricular personnel. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be resolved that the co-curricular personnel as set forth on the list below be approved at the contractual rate listed for the 2019-20
Move the
school
list.
year. Move the list.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Elementary school extended day program. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that the following elementary school extended day personnel be approved at a rate of $43 per hour worked for the 2019-20 school year.
Move the list. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. 6.14, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that Susan Urban be appointed as a long-term substitute teacher at a contractual rate of $62,841, step 1, bachelor's plus 30 plus master's, effective November 13th, 2019 through June 30th, 2020, or the return of the teacher.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I just have a comment. This will probably come back to you because of the start date. She's currently working in another district, and they might hold her for the 30 days as a part-time employee, so.
So
you
we
might
can
see-
amend that in the
Yes.
next packet?
Possibly.
Okay.
Will she be teaching here before the next meeting?
I'm not sure. That's why I left this as tomorrow, the date tomorrow, so she can start. But if she's not gonna start until, let's say, December, we'll have to modify.
Can we just make the motion pending arrival date from current employment through June 30th?
Yeah, we could, we've never done that, but I'm good with that.
Then we don't have to correct it, it could just go in as
Yeah.
the start date of hire.
You good with that?
Yep.
Thank you, John.
Did we
Good
get a
with that.
motion? Or was that-
Do we need to make a motion
I
to
think you
change
have to
it?
amend the motion.
All right, so I'd like to amend the motion to say that the rate effective at the beginning of her, employment here, from her current employment through June 30th, 2020.
Second that.
And you'll second it, so we're amending the motion to, so that she will be eligible to come to work without bringing this amendment back. That's the whole
Yes.
purpose. Okay, I
We'll
understand.
put the correct wording.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Memorandum of Agreements.
No, 6.15.
I'm sorry, skipped one. 6.15, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that Rachel Hammersley be appointed as a long-term substitute teacher at a contractual rate of $66,513, step 1, bachelor's plus 54 plus master's, effective November 13th, 2019 through June 30th, 2020, or the appointment of a teacher.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? She'll be coming for,
She's in.
Okay.
She's in for the middle school literacy position. That's a vacancy. So we're still searching for a certified middle school 7-12 literacy teacher.
okay, very good. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. 6.16.
Motion to move all four memorandums of agreement.
Second.
A second. Okay, so that requires no discussion then, right? If you remove all four. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes, right? Policy resolution. The first reading of policy. Resolved that this be considered the first reading of policy 7131, education of homeless children and youth.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Education
Motion to move 8.1 through 8.4.
Second.
It's a motion to move 8.1, student IEPs, volunteers, donation, and Board of Education goals, 8.4. Okay, does anyone want to pull any out to discuss? No? Okay.
I just have a discussion here. I think that, I brought this up last time. We're appointing volunteers to multiple positions at once, and I think we need to take a look at that. I know we've appointed someone to be varsity volunteer soccer coach and JV soccer coach, and I think that we should probably just take a look at that. I don't think it comes in this position, but I brought it up before, and I think we should look at it. Thank you.
We'll refer that to the superintendent. Okay, any other discussion about these moved motions? No? All those in favor? Opposed? Motions pass. 9.1.
Move 9-1.
Okay, 9.1 is the seeker
I will second it.
approval. Second, any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Field trip.
Motion to move 10-1 to 10-4.
Second.
10.1 through 10.4. Motion to move. Any
Second.
discussion or pulling any out to discuss? All those in favor? Opposed? They pass. Next meeting is November 26th. If anyone has anything they'd like to see on the agenda, we would definitely be glad to entertain it. And can I get a
I
motion to?
just want to make
oh,
one
go ahead.
comment, because I got a couple of texts. So I guess there must have been, and Vince got some information from Mr. Al. During my presentation, there was some technical difficulties with sound, I guess, and the sound from my presentation did not go out over the airwaves. So I just want to point out that we do have the presentation, the same presentation I've done for a community event that's going to be posted up tomorrow. So the information from the presentation is going up there. We're trying to find out what the technical difficulties were. So I might drone on a little bit at the November 26th meeting, just so you know. Or you can watch it on YouTube, even though it's not the educational TV channel, it is archived on YouTube. Okay? So I want everyone to know that, and we got a few texts about it.
Okay, very good. Next meeting will be November 26th. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
And all those in favor? opposed.
I really